everyone, welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Ranieri, and today's guest has founded several Orange County businesses, including The Full Routine, which is a very fun and unique workout in Newport Beach. She's also founded The Nail Lounge and is the former CEO of GritCycle. Thank you so much for being here today, Cassie Piasecki.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm excited for this.
I know, me too. I am such a huge fan of The Full Routine. Shout out to your instructor, Nicole. I had seen it on TikTok. Like it got really popular there. And then I had multiple groups of friends telling me about it. I was like, okay, I just have to try it. And I was like scared at first to go, but it was so fun. I absolutely loved it.
I love that you say that you're scared because we hear that a lot. And one of our mottos in the studio is allow yourself to be the beginner, because we all were the beginner at least once. And when people are here in the class and they know that it's someone's first time, they just kind of give you a knowing look like, we know what you're thinking right now. You're going to be fine. Yeah.
And your instructors are so great too. Like Nicole would be like giving me like a shout out, like, you got it. Like, that's so great. You're doing great, or stuff like that. And it was like such a fun environment.
Good. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah. I loved it. Well, let's start at the very beginning of your story, because we have so much ground to cover with all of the incredible businesses you founded. But first of all, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Thousand Oaks and Malibu, California. So my divorced parents, so one was in Thousand Oaks and one was in Malibu. So super local, California native through and through. Lived here my whole entire life.
Amazing. What were you like as a kid?
I was very outgoing, actually, very outgoing, very confident, and kind of, the one that would get up in front of anybody and sing and dance and put on a show and say, hey, watch me. And I was, I think, always eager to please. I was a people pleaser and always looking out for like the person who was kind of blended into the background and bringing them forward and helping them feel comfortable. And I was a really good speller, and I was a really good babysitter, and I loved to dance, definitely.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very cool. Well, I read at just 18 years old, you became the owner of a beach-inspired clothing store. That's wild. Was it from the ground up? Did you purchase it or?
Yeah. So I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. My grandfather, both grandparents on both grandfathers on both sides were entrepreneurs. And I kind of didn't know any different. I was the one that at 10 was like sewing little rainbow puffy pillows and trying to sell them to my friends. So when I was 18 years old, it's so weird to think of like, how did I even come across? I know. I was working there. A store in Thousand Oaks called Vacation Sportswear with Dean DiLorenzo, and he's still around as a Garmento. But I was working there, and his wife had a baby, and they had a couple stores. They just couldn't do all the stores. And so at 18, he said, do you want to buy the store? And I said, yeah. It was weird, the background to it. I was in a car accident and broke my back and had to drop out of college and got a little bit of insurance money. And, at 18, I was like, yeah, here's my entry into owning my own business, like a real brick and mortar. So, that's so weird thinking back at that. I mean, it feels like yesterday, but at the same time, it was 8. I'm 56. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine owning anything at 18. That's wild. So, how did you learn on the go, or did you kind of know what you were doing since you already worked there, or how did that work?
I worked there, so that was helpful. And then Dean was definitely a mentor. And at the time, the way that we worked with vendors to get our clothing, we would have a couple sales reps come and wholesale stuff. But Dean really built his business around just going to downtown LA. So at 18, I was going to the garment district, much to my mother's. I don't even think my mom to this day knew exactly what I was doing, where I was going. And she probably would be mad if she did. But I would go and just go to the places that Dean went to and pick up clothing and bring it down. And I had my store. I had that store for 2 years and then decided to move to Orange County with my first husband. So
Oh, wow.
And that's how I ended up in Orange County. He also was an entrepreneur, and we came to Laguna Niguel because it was a midpoint for where his business was. And so I think I closed that store, went to Orange County, and that's how I ended up here.
Okay. So is this when you opened the fitness apparel store?
No. So first, I don't even think it's on here. So first, the business that he had that I definitely did with him was, of all random things, a fire extinguisher servicing business. So
Whoa.
every store, every business has to have a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
So we set up shop in Orange County, and we went from Ventura County or Santa Barbara to Laguna Niguel, and then from Laguna Niguel to San Diego. And I did like all the books and everything. And we were babies. We were 20. So we were only married for a year, and we got a divorce. I stayed in Laguna Niguel for a little bit longer. Got married again to my second husband. And that is when I opened up the fitness apparel store, and just kind of took my background that I had for my first store and married it with my passion for fitness. And at the time, this is a super cool thing. At the time, there was no Lululemon, or if they were just like a one store in Canada kind of thing. And there were no mail order catalogs. And mail order at the time was huge. This is like 1991, 1992. And so it's pre-internet. And the way that a store sold things outside of the brick and mortar was through mail order. And so I worked with a consultant, and we came up with the first mail order. As far as I know, it was the first mail order fitness. The word athleisure wasn't even a term at that time. It was like leotards, tights, and leggings. And started that, and got pregnant and had my daughter. And when she was about 10 months old, I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. She's like climbing on the racks. And I sold that business.
Okay. And then tell me about Shopperazzi. This is such a cool idea. It's so smart because there's like something kind of similar to it now, but you were like on the forefront of so many different ideas.
So when celebrities first started being, I would say they were celebrities, so they technically should have been influencers, but it was our first kind of foray into influencer stuff. And this was the time of Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian was like, she was still doing Paris's closets at that time. But like these really, I mean, it was like Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton were starting to shop at places in LA like Kitson. And for anybody that's listening, watching, or reading, or however you're listening to this, Kitson was like the place that you would go and shop. And it was on Robertson in West Hollywood. And then stores around there started becoming famous for celebrity shopping. So my cousin-in-law, Tina, shout out to Tina, we would go up to LA and go shopping all the time. And, we kind of felt like, oh, we want to go where, the celebrities are.
Yeah.
And people started asking us, well, where do you go? Can you take us shopping? And I wish you just had a map so we could know where to go. So we did. We started a business called Shopperazzi, which was a map, like a printed map on paper that we would send to people that had all of these stores on there.
So smart.
It was like, if you have a half a day, like here's all the stores that you could go to. And websites still really weren't a thing. We had a website, obviously, because that's how people would purchase it. But it wasn't like you would go on and like blogs weren't a thing yet. It was still very much kind of like e-commerce, very basic e-commerce. I still have some of the maps. They're so cute. We had a designer, and we had a song. It was like a whole thing. We had a song on the website. It was so fun. And those stores, for the most part, are still there. That's what's crazy. Even Kitson has gone through a metamorphosis, open, close, bankrupt, all those things, and it's still there. And he still carries all the same stuff. It's so funny to watch. So yeah,
oh my God, I'm sure that's popular again now with all the 90s resurgence.
Yeah, right. I still there probably 3 months ago. I went to Kitson.
No way.
Yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. That's such a smart idea. Actually, when we were in Palm Springs recently, one of the stores gave us a map and it was like, if you like more like aesthetic and cool idea, like cool spots, here's like all the cool restaurants. And it was so helpful.
Yeah.
So that would have been really helpful too.
It's fun. You your phone. You're looking at something.
Yeah, right. Totally. Well, at this point in our conversation, we've already talked about both four actually different companies that you started so early on in your life. And you said your family has this entrepreneurial spirit, but what originally got you into Pilates?
So I got into the fitness industry early on, and early on for me in my life. It was probably like 91, 92. And I used to be really overweight and, I would dance and cheerlead and ice skate and whatever, but I kind of went through that puberty thing where, gained weight and found fitness through that and group fitness specifically. And this was the time of step aerobics. I'm much older than I appear. So this is the time of step aerobics, Olivia Newton-John, Get Physical, leotards, tights, leg warmers. And as a cheerleader, as a dancer, you're always trying to rope everybody in to do it. So getting into the fitness industry and start teaching classes was like a natural fit for me. And so I started off with step aerobics. I've pretty much taught everything under the sun except for CrossFit. I used to say CrossFit and boxing, but boxing comes into play later. So I actually sideline taught it or helped people that teach it. And so got into group fitness that way. And went to it's not weird. I went to Aspen, Colorado over the holidays when I was probably 28 or 29 years ago, and took a reformer class and had an amazing time and felt so good on that piece of equipment doing Pilates that I came home and started looking for an instructor to do private lessons just because it just felt so amazing. It was just something that felt natural in my body. And I was very fortunate to land at a studio called On Center Conditioning, which today is known as Body Arts and Sciences International. And it's like the world-renowned Pilates school in all the world. People come from all over, and it's right here in Newport Beach. And I started taking private lessons there. And immediately knew that I would do this for the rest of my life. This working on a reformer, exercising on a reformer, I would do for the rest of my life. And outside of COVID, I have I've done Pilates on a reformer 2 to 3 times a week for the last 20 some odd years, just as a practitioner before even becoming an instructor. And so through my love and my experience at the time was On Center, I decided to get my Pilates certification, but at the same time was still, opening businesses or doing things in entrepreneurial ways that were fed by my love for fitness, and whether it was teaching Pilates and eventually indoor cycling and personal training, they all kind of wove together into my life in some way, shape, or form. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I totally agree about Pilates. It's like one of the first workouts that I've actually become like addicted to, like really like love, like truly. Like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like my mind is always like racing. And then when you're on the reformer, you have to go slow. And so it like forces your mind to slow down.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
So, no, you hit it spot on. And actually that was at that time when I first started, I was going through something in my personal life that was horrible. And it was the only hour out of my day where I wasn't thinking about that particular thing in my life, because you have to focus on your body moving the piece of equipment. The equipment is not going to move without your mind and your body moving it. And it was a huge stress relief. And to this day, and I talk to my clients about it all the time, that this could, and my instructors, like this could be the 1 hour out of the day when they're not thinking about X, Y, and Z, good, bad, or different. And it is really, it's exceptional in that way.
So yeah, that's so true. It totally, and also you don't want to fall because you're trying to balance too. So there's always that. Yeah. Well, in 2012, you released an ebook called Biz Etiquette. So what does this book focus on?
My pet peeves.
Oh.
So through my entrepreneur journey, I got to experience a lot of different things, and everything from walking into banks and asking for money, working with customers, doing sales, like all these things where I would just look at situations and think, is this really the best way to show up for yourself? Is this the best way to represent your business? And I love etiquette. I consider myself to be a very respectful person. I'm always going to dress for the occasion. I'm always going to do my best to say the right thing, bring the right gift to the party. So etiquette is like a big thing for me. Again, being a people pleaser. And I was working with a lot of women in business, running a women's entrepreneur community, and I would, mentor people and teach them how to show up as their best representative for their business as well. So it was basically like my list of pet peeves that I experienced in business with other people and or myself or people that were working with me, and just how can we show up and do this differently. Everything from, well, at the time you had business cards. So, making sure if you were going to a networking event that you had a business card handy so that you weren't like digging through your purse and handing someone a business card, all the way to when you go to shake someone's hand, especially as a woman, not handing over a wet noodle to shake, like shaking someone's hand, like don't leave them with the little droopy noodle. And all the things in between. And my daughter, I have a daughter who's going to be 30 in March. And she, maybe a year ago, she said, why don't we, she's an attorney right now. So she's experienced a lot of the same things. And she said, why don't we go through and revamp biz etiquette? And she's right. I mean, it is something that never goes. We just do business different now. So I just don't have time to do it. I told her she could do it if she wanted to, but I don't think she has time to. But it could be something that we revisit again.
That would be really cool. I would read it. I love that idea.
Yeah. I think they're just my pet peeves. So of course they're the best.
Yeah. Well, in 2017, and this is how I first became introduced to you, you became the CEO of GritCycle. And so for listeners who don't know, it's an indoor cycling studio that's bike to the beat. And it's actually how I first got introduced to indoor cycling. And I've been doing it ever since. But how did you come into this role?
Yeah. So as a fitness professional, and as someone who currently is 56 years old, I've hit these like mile markers in my career where I'm like, no one wants a 40-year-old aerobics instructor.
People tell you that?
No, I decide for myself.
Oh.
So I was teaching fitness. I was doing all the things, had a couple, the nail lounge, a couple of businesses all along the way, whatever. And at 40, I decided I'm done teaching. Nobody wants a 40-year-old aerobics instructor. I was telling myself that.
Oh, no.
And so I wasn't teaching anywhere. And in 2013, GritCycle opened in Costa Mesa. And I went, everybody was talking about it. I was a Soul Cycle fan. So it was like normal for me. I was so excited to have something that kind of was like Soul Cycle. And I went in the first time with one of my best friends, Lisa, and we got on a bike. And the lights went down and the blue lights turned on and the music started. And I leaned over to her and I go, I'm going to teach here. And she was like,
that's so cool.
You're retired. And I said, I'm coming out of retirement. So I went through the audition process with Matt and Marisa and Candace at the time, and got on the schedule a couple months later. And so started off as an instructor. And this is 2013. So this is when social media, like Facebook, you didn't have to be a college student anymore to have it. Like everybody had Facebook. Social media was starting to become a thing. And I would help people in business with their social media. At the time it was Facebook and Twitter. Those were like the big things that everybody had. And so as they got to know me as an instructor, they got to know a little bit more of my business background, help with social media. They were growing. They were opening up their second studio. And in 2017, they came to me and they said, we're going to create this role. It was actually managing director to start, which is like a CEO, but like you do all the same things, but it's like a little different title. and we want you to apply for it. And I was like, okay, let's go. And it was an amazing opportunity because Matt and Marisa, and at the time it was Matt, Marisa, and Joe, were the owners of the studio. And they were very much involved, but they also, in their own right, were very entrepreneurial and had a lot of things going on inside the studio, outside the studio. And they allowed me to come on and feel like grit was my own. To this day, I still say I bleed grit blue.
Yeah.
I would say it, and I'll say I bleed grit blue.
Yeah.
I very much felt like I treated it as if it was my own business as well. So I was still teaching, and when I first came on, we had 2 studios. And I think within 18 months, Matt and I worked together to kind of revamp the way that we acquired studios or opened new studios. And over the course of these 17 to 18 months, we opened up 5 additional studios, and then 6 was on the way as COVID was starting to happen. So we had the 2, opened 5 more, and then we had opened one up in Northern California. It was our first one in Walnut Creek outside of Southern California, and then had inked a second one in Long Beach, and COVID happened, and the rest is kind of history. But Grit was such a amazing experience, like I said, because I felt like it was my own.
Yeah.
And I got to work with really cool people. I mean, working with Matt was amazing, and I miss it so much days because we had so much fun and did so many cool things. He always made sure that we were having fun and doing cool things.
Aww.
And the staff that I worked with in the corporate office was amazing and still works with me. Many of them still work with me here at the Full Routine. We stayed friends. And then as this was getting ready to open, I went and tapped them and said, do you want to come along for the ride? And so Dre and Ashley both worked with me at Grit. And then Katie Frome, worked with us at Grit, and she is responsible for setting up the whole back end of my business, our booking system.
Wow.
And she still to this day does a lot of stuff with us. And and TFR was kind of born in the back of the GritCycle corporate office during COVID. So that's a little insider thing also. But yeah, Grit was, it was hard. Lots of people, lots of studios, lots of moving parts, but it was also really, really, really gratifying.
Yeah. You were the face of it to me. So when I saw that you were also behind the Full Routine, I was like, okay, well, now I have to go try it. But, to fast forward a bit, to 2023, where, you founded the Full Routine. So what inspired the studio? Cause it's such a different type of workout.
Yeah. So I always say Pilates is my soulmate workout. And by Pilates, I mean reformer Pilates. And I had gone through a life transition, gotten divorced from my second husband after 29 years, and decided that it was kind of now or never. I didn't have anything to lose. I only had things to gain. And so I decided that I was going to take everything that I had and open up a reformer studio, and then also introduce this class. At the time, it was called Mat Make It Hot. And I figured, Cassie, just put everything into it. If it doesn't work out, you'll just go BK and go to Europe and live in Paris and teach Pilates in Paris, which is something that I've done and I've always wanted to do again. And that was just kind of like my thing. It's like, it's either going to work and it's be amazing, or it's not going to work and you're just going to go to Paris. And so I literally took everything that I had. I took everything that I had and I put it in, and I opened up this studio, and we have reformers that stand up on the walls. And so every other day, every other night, we would put the reformers up, and on the opposite days, we would teach this class called Mat Make It Hot. And it was the original iteration of it that I started creating in the back of the GritCycle corporate offices during COVID, worked through it, refined it over a couple years, and was just doing it myself and incorporating what I loved about Pilates, it's not a Pilates workout, but there is a section that is classical mat Pilates. We should come back to that. But had this first iteration of it, and we were in this tiny garage with a cement floor, 2 rinky-dink heaters that I would drive to the studio on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday mornings and turn on at like 5 or 6 a.m. and then close the garage up and let the girls teach. I didn't even teach the class there. I didn't like the cement floor, and I would let the other instructors teach. I would sub as needed or teach on like a special, like on Christmas or something. I think I taught a total of 11 classes there, and just let the other girls teach. And I just knew we could only have 6 people in the class. Everyone was kicking reformers, and I knew it was going to be big. And the feedback was like, this is amazing, I can't get in. Or this is amazing, I don't want to roll around on a cement floor and kick Jen Schro in the face, or get kicked by Jen Schro in the face. You need a bigger spot. And so in the end of 2023, I visualized what I wanted this bigger spot to look like. And I knew it needed to be close to the Reformer studio. So I'm sitting in the space that I found in January of 2024. We opened the second studio in March of 2024 to sold out classes. This studio holds 26 people. And the Reformer studio is still there. I've now taken over the entire Reformer studio. So we have our Reformer group fitness classes in the front, and we have a private privé section in the back where we have all of the equipment from Cadillac to chair to Reformer to barrel, and we do privates back there. And then this mat studio is here. And in March of this year, I'm opening up our 3rd studio in Saturday. So I'm really excited and have plans to continue growing as I can personally finance. So it's really important for me for this to be a woman-owned business and to do it myself. And the way that I accomplish that is by working with really amazing instructors that really understand my own personal journey on how I got here. I don't use the term journey lightly, but it's definitely been a journey. And my role in the company is to make sure that my instructors are well trained, well taken care of, both mentally, physically, and financially. And if I make sure those 2 things happen, they'll make sure that everybody that comes here has a great workout. It's not called the Cassie Studio. It's not called the Cassie Method. It's called the Full Routine, because I'm not going to teach forever and I can't teach all the classes. And I want this next wave of fitness professionals to be amazing and be able to teach an amazing workout and be well compensated and, build their own brands and all of that. So that's really my biggest role. I teach some classes still, but I want to build this brand so that other fitness professionals can really shine. And and that's what, and make sure it's a good workout. So,
well, tell me a bit about how you came up with the moves for this class. Cause I've done I usually do Pilates or spin, and then I've done hot yoga sculpt, and it kind of reminded me of like hot yoga sculpt to the beat. But the second we started doing like these 8 counts on the floor, I was like, I have never experienced anything like this. And you do like a couple of the counts and you're like, okay, I think I got this down. By the end of that song, you're like, what did we just do? Like, it's so challenging, but so fun. And you leave feeling like so good and energized. So if you could describe what the class is for people who haven't taken it, and also how you came up with these moves.
Yeah. Well, so first I want to say I'm a classically trained Pilates instructor. So our reformer classes, first and foremost, are all classical. Pilates is having a moment right now, and hot Pilates is having a moment right now. And I look at some of the things. I don't look at a lot of other studios on TikTok or Instagram, but people send me stuff a lot of the time as well. And I want everyone to know that our reformer classes are classical repertoire with an athletic twist. Our classes are tough. They're rooted in the classical repertoire. So they're all the exercises that Joseph Pilates created. And then a little athletic twist. We don't do what I call TikTok Pilates. You're not going to use a booty band. You're not going to do something that you feel like you're going to fall out of outside of the classic rep. And it's very important for me to stick to that. And then when I started creating this class, the word hot Pilates is on trend right now. And people come all the time. They're like, this isn't Pilates. And I said, well, I never said it was. So don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
So what we do here is a 60-minute, the majority of classes are 60-minute long classes that are driven by the beat of the music and the heat of the room. So our rooms are heated to about 90 degrees with a dry heat. We don't use humidifiers. We use infrared heaters, which you can see by the disco ball.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. Our infrared heater. So we have, in this particular room, we have 8 of them in here. And we also run the regular heater. So it's typically a dry heat. It feels amazing at this time of the year. And even in the summer, you're just like, you get in, you're like, this feels good. So the class is broken up into 3 sections. We have an arms routine, we have a Pilates mat routine, and we have a full body sculpt routine at the end. Our arms routine is basically just moving your arms to the beat of the music. You asked how I came up with the moves. I'm inspired by a lot of people, everything from Joseph Pilates to Richard Simmons to Olivia Newton-John, Jamie Lee Curtis, Richard Simmons, Jack LaLanne, Cindy Crawford in the 90s came out with an amazing workout video with Radu.
How cool.
It's so cool. And then of course there's the obvious one is Tracy Anderson. People ask me all the time or say like, oh, this is just a copy of Tracy Anderson. Well, Tracy Anderson also was motivated and inspired by all of those other people as well. The body moves the way the body moves. I would be hard pressed to say that someone could come up with a new way to move the body with a new type of move or exercise.
Totally.
I'm inspired by all of those people and others. But what I did was I took a little bit from all the people and all the methods that I'm inspired by, and I made them our own. So we have the arm series that's done, the first 3 songs, and then we drop down onto our mat and we do our Pilates mat series. So this is where Pilates comes into play for us. They are 34 exercises that are from the classical repertoire of mat exercises from Joseph Pilates. We take those, we put them to the beat of the music, and we choreograph them. So, for example, there is an exercise called the 100. Most people that do classical mat exercises or even the classical reformer repertoire know you're pumping your arms and you're up and forward flexion and you're counting a cycle. Inhale for 5, exhale for 5. So we do the 100 in this class, but we're doing it to the beat of the music. So we change it. It's not 5, it's an 8 count because the music is 8 counts. So if you look at the foundation of our program, you will see the classic repertoire of Pilates mat exercises during that middle section of our class. From there, we strap the ankle weights on, we get down onto the mat, and we do the full body weighted sculpt section, which is so fun. It's what I always say, like, this is what we're here for. And our instructor, myself and our instructors, we choreograph 4 combinations. Each of us create our own combinations that we perform to the beat of the music. And they are moves that are supposed to build and sculpt all of the muscles in the body. I always say, except for your face, unless you're smiling. But they're done in a way that is low to no impact and done in a way that you're not going to put on and build like I lift weights. I go to the gym to put on size. I come here I call it rip out, rip out or shred out. I rip out our bodies through the heat and the repetition and the type of movement that we're doing. So in the gym, I might go and do squats or deadlifts with heavy weight. And then I come in here and I'm doing things that are angling the body in and stretching the leg out long. And so what that's doing is a couple things. And I know people will say, you can't lengthen the muscle. Actually, you can learn to elongate the leg and stand to your tallest potential, which gives the appearance of lengthening the muscle. But I'm also
Yeah.
working all of the little accessory muscles that aren't working when you're doing that big squat. You're doing that big squat, you're working your hamstring, your quads, your glutes. But there's all these other little accessory muscles that help to either lengthen or pull something in and together. So that's what makes our workouts unique. I've seen body transformations that blow my mind. And people will say, oh, it's just from TFR. It's just from TFR. And I will say, no, it first comes from not eating like a jerk at home.
Yeah.
So if you be mindful about what you're eating, you can get your steps in every day, like get outside and go walk for 30 minutes and then come to the full routine and, do mat 2 or 3 times a week, take a reformer class once a week or whatever, go lift some weights. That whole combination together blows my mind. People say, no, it's from TFR. I'm like, no, you're also paying attention to what you're eating too. So
Yeah.
it's all of the things, but man, I've seen some stuff over the last year where I knew it was good, but I didn't know it was that good.
Oh God, that gets me so excited. I love that.
So that's the class, and it takes about an hour. It's an hour-long class. Sometimes we'll do 90. I'll teach a 90-minute class, like on special occasion.
Wow.
We also have an on-demand program. We have this big light that's hanging up right there. Our on-demand platform, we do 30 minutes, 60 minutes, sometimes 90. We do dance cardio. We do some recovery stuff, and that's all available on our online platform. But the meat workouts are 60 minutes. So that's what we do.
Okay, great. Well, is there any events or anything coming up that you would like to shout out for listeners to keep an eye out for? Or?
I mean, we just come every day and we just try to do our best about providing a place where you can come, do your workout and go. Not a bunch of hoopla, not a bunch of events, not a bunch of special things where you got to worry about this, you got to worry about that. I always tell our clients and our instructors, this is, again, the 1 hour that you don't have to think about anything else. We don't decorate for Christmas. We don't hold big. Just come work out and go. Keep our schedule all the time. So there's nothing special. The workout is the special thing. So just come work out. Allow yourself to be the beginner. It's not scary. It's not intimidating. We've all been here the first time at least once, and everybody knows it. And no one's looking at you. No one's looking at you. They're looking at the instructor. So allow yourself to be the beginner and just come and try it. It's so fun.
Yeah, I was like, for my first class, I was like, let's go in the back. And my friend was like, no, you have to be by the mirror. You have to see what you're doing. And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, you're right. No one was looking at me. Everyone is so focused on what they're doing or on the instructor. It was so comfortable. But we are coming to the end of our time. But before I let you go, I have 3 final questions for you that we call the Thoughtful 3. So first, what advice do you have for someone who is looking to become an instructor or an entrepreneur in the wellness space?
If you want to be an entrepreneur in the wellness space, there is nothing that's going to stop you. You're not going to be able to work for someone else. It will make you have hives. So if working for someone else gives you hives, that means you are an entrepreneur. So when you decide that that's what you're going to do, put your head down. Don't look at the competition. Don't look at what everybody else is doing. Go with your gut. Go with what you know. Go with what you're passionate about, and just go. Don't get analysis paralysis. Make sure you're an entrepreneur. You get hives working for someone else, and then put your head down and just go. There is enough for everyone to go around.
Definitely. I love that. And then what is a daily routine that you incorporate into your life that you feel that others should adopt as well?
So I prioritize sleep, and then I get up super early, and I've moved my body in some way, shape, or form every single day. Whether I owned a fitness studio or not, getting up, and doing it as soon as I wake up in the morning. I take care of me first so that I can take care of everybody else better. If I waited out till the end of the day, me personally, probably wouldn't get done because I would get sidetracked with everybody else's stuff. So I go to bed early. I wake up early in the dark time, I call it. And I move my body every single day. Doesn't have to be balls to the wall. Sometimes just opening the front door and walking for 20 minutes and turning around and coming back. So 40 minutes, I didn't even have to get in my car. But I move my body in some way, shape, or form every single day.
Oh, that's a good goal. That's like good goal for the new year. And then lastly, how has your approach to risk evolved over the course of your career?
Well, I said last night, scared money don't make money. That's a great question. And I'll try to be quick answering it. When you're young and you don't have a family, you don't have a house payment, you don't have responsibility, it's a lot easier to be risky. When you are in a relationship and you have someone else and a family to think about, it's very important that you check in with your partner and make sure that everybody is comfortable with the risk, whether it be financial, time, whatever strain it puts on a family. Because like I said, you get hives working for someone else.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you just go out there and just bleh, without asking your partner. It's really important that everybody is aligned. And I didn't open up a Pilates studio for many, many, many years because my partner at the time, my ex-husband, he was risk adverse, and I totally understood and respected that. And I let it rest. I brought it up, went through the process a couple times and I put it to rest. He wasn't ready. On the other side of the marriage, I woke up one day and I was like, wait a minute, I've got nothing to lose. I don't have a house. I don't have, whatever. I have nothing to lose. Now my risk tolerance is much greater. And I had my backup plan, my plan A, B, C, D, and E. Moving to Paris and teaching Pilates being one.
Still, what a dream. Yeah.
Living in Paris is hard, but yeah, that's a story. But, so just taking stock of where you are in your life and realizing, oh, wait, I actually don't have anything to lose. I should go is really important. Just go is one of my favorite things to say. So.
Yeah. I also love scared money doesn't make money.
Your money don't make money. I'm opening up that something studio and I'm like, every day I'm like, okay, send a couple more thousand here, a couple more thousand there. And I will do it. I will do it by myself and it will be amazing. And I got scared money don't make money.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for bringing such a fun class and community to Orange County. I absolutely love the class and I'm literally going next Thursday. So I will be seeing you very soon. And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It's so fun.
Of course.